Hello everyone and welcome back to the Keep Productive YouTube channel. On today's video, we're diving into a masterclass on how to use Notion databases. Now, Notion databases is something that are quite tricky to get your teeth stuck into, but once you do, you can apply it to pretty much any page that you create, and it can become a really useful tool and resource inside of your Notion account. So in today's video, we're going to show you how you could use it. We're going to give you 3 demonstrations of it. We're then going to dive into some of the functionality in terms of the small features you can use to really optimize Notion databases. And then we're going to finalize with a few advanced experiences, which some of you Notion nerds might want to wait around for. So guys, in today's video, we're diving into Notion databases. So guys, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to diving into some of Notion databases side of stuff. As you can imagine, it's something that I'm slowly progressing, and I think one thing you do learn when you're using Notion on a regular basis is you learn as you go as well. So you're always picking up small things that you can do with databases, and hopefully some of the advanced things that I've recently discovered will be beneficial for you all. So guys, just before we dive in, I wanted to thank our sponsor this week on the Keep Productive YouTube channel, which is SaneBox. SaneBox is an email management tool that professionals can plug into their existing email client that helps you to reduce email. If you're someone that is pretty stressed with email and is looking to reduce email so they can get to something like inbox zero, that can be a great tool for you. I've used SaneBox for a while, and you can check out a how-to tutorial on how to use SaneBox in everyday practice. And also, you guys can get $25 credit below, as well as a free trial to SaneBox. So check that out. A big thank you to SaneBox for sponsoring this week here on the Keep Productive YouTube channel. So guys, now all the notes are out of the way, let's get stuck in. Now we'll be doing 3 main demonstrations. We're going to create a project for a company retreat. Then we're going to dive into how to create team meeting notes using a table. And finally, then we're going to dive into the hiring process and how you could potentially use that. So hopefully you'll get a full idea of the different types of databases you can use. So many people ask as a first question, how do you use Notion databases every single day? Now imagine when you're setting up a document and you're looking to add a bit more context to everything, or be able to add a table or a board or even a calendar view to the thing you're trying to explain. Now, databases work in a very similar way to that. You can basically interactively explain and demonstrate experiences. So databases are really simple inside of Notion, as I mentioned, once you get stuck into them. And you can create 2 types of databases when you're inside of a page. You can create a full page one, which means it will take over the entirety of the page. And you can also create an inline one, which is useful if you're adding existing information to that page. So here we are. Let's create a new page, and let's start with the team projects area. So once you're creating a new page, there's 2 ways to access the databases. You could go straight to the template and actually use one of the existing templates that are created. You can see they're down at the bottom on the right hand side. You can select some of the notes ones, some of the recruiting ones, some of the CRM ones. So if you're looking for a template that's going to get you started and probably save you time creating it from scratch, these are going to do you a fantastic job. But if you wanted to create it from scratch as a full page, you'll see that you can access table, board, list, calendar, and gallery from below down here. Now in this case, we're going to be creating a team project, so let's go with the board option. So as I mentioned, we're going to be doing this for a company retreat. Let's say we're going to Spain as a way to get away for the year. Let's talk through some of the features of the databases as we go. So you can add a title to the top of the page, and that's a really good starting point. So as you can imagine, you can add an icon and a cover too if you wanted to be able to demonstrate more. In this example, I'm just going to put a lovely palm tree as the icon. So as you can see here, I've already created a to-do in the column. So these are all columns, and inside of a board, it works very similar to the likes of Asana boards or Trello. You can actually just create the columns and then be able to add cards below them. So these almost act as lists. So as you can see here, I'm just tallying a few of the different projects or tasks that I'll be doing towards the company retreat. So let's start by adding a few to-dos. So there we are, I've added 3 cards, 3 really simple cards, and as you can imagine, once you've added them, you can click into them. And what's great about this is you can add even more detail. So to add more detail, all you have to do is click Add Property, and you get this sort of prompt to create a new property type as well as a new area. So for example, if I wanted to start putting a budget per item that I'm working on, I could title this area budget here. And I've added a property type of number. And for example, up here, I automatically have one called assigned, which is a property type of a person. So for example, I could assign this to myself and give it a budget of maybe £200. So you can see here that once I come off this, it almost creates this bigger card because it's given me an assignment of this one. But let's say I add a few more details to the other ones. So there we are, I've added a few people to it as well as given them budgets, but as you can see here, it's really easy to assign people to certain boards and activities. Now if I wanted to, and during this week, I know that, for example, Alice started doing this or organising the company retreat with a team party on the beach, and Kroom managed to finish this one off, so it's done. So you can move it between the statuses that you're working on. Now, as you can imagine, this is a really simple use of a board and something that I think a lot of people would know already. But as you can imagine, it's a great way to plan and visualize your work. With a board database, you can go up and change the settings based on the person it's assigned to or the different properties of each of the cards. So anytime if I wanted to see the actual activities assigned to each person, I can do. And as I add more properties, I can group them by these different areas. Now we'll get into properties and details and functions a bit later, but let's begin to demonstrate how you would go through a hiring process with a table. So you go through the same process, you create a full page table. So I'm going to add a few properties for this database. Okay, so here we are. I've added a few different properties, and tables pretty much work in the same way as a spreadsheet would inside of something like Google Sheets or even Excel. So you can create these different columns, and as you can imagine, you can add stuff underneath them. Okay, so as you can see here, I've started to add a bit more detail about that. And as you can see, by each of these property types, it works in the exact same way as the boards did previously. Now you can move around the columns that are available here so that it's a little bit easier to view. And the good thing is if you wanted to, you could go up to add view and change it to something like a calendar view. So if I went and created a calendar view, this is what would appear, and you can actually go into the information and you can see all of the relevant property types. You can do this, for example, with the company retreat. For example, if I wanted to create it into list view, I could go ahead and create that. And as you can see here, the tasks are automatically laid out. I could add a tertiary view and maybe add a gallery view. So let's see what it looks like that. So you can see there, here are all of the tasks. If I click in, I can see all of the information I need to know. So these different viewing options allow you to see your different boards, tables, calendars in a different angle and allow you to adapt that data accordingly. So for example, if you wanted to create team meeting notes, you could do something very similar with the list view. So all I'd have to do is create a database with a list view as a full page. What I'll tend to do is I'll delete some of the existing ones before and title it meeting notes. Let me give a title to the first note, and what I can do is I can add a bunch of properties to help this database out. So for example, let's say this was a call with Bob. I could really simply add an icon to get started with. So let's just put the call icon. And what you can start doing is adding relevant tags, date of meetings, for example, importance of the meeting, the persons present in the meetings, as well as the time taken. So let's give a few context points. So there we go, we've added a few context points. I've added the topic of the conversation with Bob, the date of the meeting, the importance of the meeting, and also the persons present. I've also indicated a time that will be taken, and as you can see, the actual date for this one has been set in the future. So for example, if you wanted, and this is something that you can do, for example, if you wanted a reminder on this, you could actually include a reminder here, and you can have that 2 days before the event or on the day of the event, as well as include a time and also an end date. So if it was like a 3-day meeting, that could be possible to add too. So for example, let me just add 2 days before to get a nudge on that one. And as you can see, it comes up with a blue reminder, and that will nudge me on my mobile or on my reminders here on Notion. So it looks like I'm all ready for the meeting, and the great thing is I can click in and I can go down here to page content and be able to interact with this data. Now, if I wanted to, and I wanted to be able to create this into a table view, I could easily do so by going over to create. All of the information is laid out in a very similar fashion, and if I wanted to add all of those meeting notes, I'd go over to open, and you can see I can add them just below. So it's really easy to change the view if that's something that you want to do before the meeting. So you've seen there the ability to create boards for projects. You've seen the ability to create a table for using it for meeting notes, as well as using it for the hiring process, and also the list view, and also gallery view we mentioned, but there's so many different ways that you can use this. And the great thing is it's so flexible. So let's dive into a little bit of the details here. Let's talk about the functions of how you can change the viewing options even further. So let's dive into a few examples. Oakley dokley, let's take you over to the editorial calendar we use. I use this as an example a lot, and what I want to demonstrate in this video is a few of the experiences that you could use. And I've got a few set up already, so I'm just going to take them off for this example and then show you how I actually got to them. So let's start with the search function. I think search function's a great feature. If you've got a table view, you've got any type of view, want to find a bit of information. For example, if you want to find like all of the Notion articles we're doing on the blog, then for example, I can type in Notion and see exactly all of the times that Notion is mentioned across all of the articles we're doing. Now, if I want to do the same with, for example, like courses, which is a very specific term, then I can see whether there's any mention of course there. And for example, I see that there's one mention of course there. So as you can see by this database that we're using, we've separated it into title of it, topic of the thing that we're talking about. We've actually got an assign area, a due area, and a post area. So you can add lots of different due dates, or even you can add a due date, you could add a edit date, you can add a post date. There's no limit to how many times you can add a date as a property type. Now, the one thing that I do, for example, is if I want to see all the articles I'm doing, then that's quite important to me because I want to be able to see exactly what I'll be working on. Me and Alice tend to do this with all of the different views we've got because it saves us a bit of time. So we'll go over to the filter section and add a new filter. Now it's really easy. I'll go over to assign to and contains Francesco, and I can see all of the articles that I need to work on, and that's quite a useful view. When, for example, I'm like, okay, I need to actually see all of the articles that Alice is working on so that I can assign more to her, I can easily do so just by using that filter. And I can then go down to the bottom and add more, and automatically it's adding Alice as an assigned person. So that's helpful for when I'm looking to add more articles to Alice's plate. So you can use actually the sorting function to go a bit deeper. For example, is if I wanted to see all of the due dates that are ascending or descending, then I can see, for example, all of the latest ones at the top. That will save me time viewing. And as you can imagine, I'm still in that filter for Alice view, so I'll only see Alice's ones and with the top or the latest articles at the top. So for example, if I wanted to change that filter, I could quickly go over to Francesco here and see all of the ones that are coming up for me in the ascending order. So what's great is during this whole process, if I'm fed up of seeing it inline, because this is what it looks like inline, I can actually go to open as page and it will actually open it as a fixed page, which makes it a little bit more focused when you're working on it. Probably wondering what does the properties mean? And that's a very good question. For example, if I went up to the top and created add view and maybe chose list view, you'd see all of the articles we're working on assigned to all the different people, and it might look a little bit mental. So if I went over to properties, I could then start ticking open certain things. So for example, if I want to see all of the topics that are being worked on or the article relates to, I can see that. If I want to see the actual due date for the articles, I can toggle that on too. And as you can see, even more context is added as I go. Now you can do this for all of the sections. So for example, I want to see which ones have been completed so far just by a glance view. You can easily do so, and that is very easily accessed. Now, if I jumped over to, for example, calendar view, I can actually do this here by adding the properties. So for example, if I wanted to see the topic of them, just by a glance view, I can see that, and it makes the entire calendar look so much more interactive. So the properties allow you to add even more detail just by viewing it from this angle. Now let's just jump back to the table view and knock off some of the filters. I'm going to show you some of the sorting abilities. Let's just take off one of the sorting abilities there. So for example, if I want to see all of the articles that are not done, I can go to Done Ascending and see all of the ones there. If I wanted to actually see only the articles that have not been completed yet, I can go to Filter and I can go to the Done property, and actually has Is Not ticked, and as you can see, these are all of the articles that we need to complete. This is so useful, and over time you can learn about all of the different experiences. For example, if I want to see all of the articles that are not done that relate to, for example, Trello in the tagline, that can be easily done. For example, we go over to topic and contains Trello. I can see that these two articles are coming up and need doing, so we can then focus in on all of those. So the sorting and filtering abilities are really detailed once you get into the thick of it. Now, the real way to access everything here is by the settings or options cog in the top right hand corner here. You can delete it, you can duplicate a table or database, you can actually copy a link to it, and I'll show you what that looks like near the end of the video. You can also access and open it as a page, as mentioned before. You can access properties here, filters, sort, and you can even turn it into a page from fresh. So if you want it to be a fixed view or just condense everything into a page, I've done this in the past. Once a project is completed and I just want to finalize everything off, then you can easily do so. So for example, let's say we finished off these articles and we wanted to create a new one. We turn this into a page and called the page Q4 of that year. That's a useful way of doing it. You can also go down here and merge with a CSV, so you can bring in a CSV too, and you can also export as Markdown or CSV, which is helpful. Now you can wrap cells as well, and also move to a different area inside of Notion. There's actually a really good link that somebody, I think actually the Notion team created, to databases if you're looking to go from scratch and go away from this video with something that I'll include. Now we're going to touch on a few of the advanced abilities. I'm going to show you a few demonstrations of how I'm using it and experimenting with it at the moment. So let's dive over to, I've actually created something called a gallery inside of here, so I can almost create pinned notes here. So the one thing I'm doing at the moment is actually in my health section, I actually tally information like sleep, meditation, and a bit on my workout information. So for example, today I just need to make a note actually. I have done my workout today and I'm going to go back to workouts and be able to add that now. So I normally do this in calendar view because I like to just quickly add it. I'm going to add, for example, that I did workout A. That's the workout calendar I do, and it was mainly on core. Now I spent about 30 minutes in there today, and as you can imagine, that's all I need to know for now. Now, the great thing is you can see here the calendar view gives a really basic idea. I've only recently started using this database, and that's great. You're probably wondering, fantastic. So the brilliant thing is if I go back to the health section, and just takes a second to load. If I go back to the health section, I can then go to here and actually do a lookup, which I'll demonstrate in a moment, of some of the pieces that are already on that workout. So as you can see, workout A was done here. So for example, I've got a log that today I've had 7 hours sleep, meditation, and I did workout A, and it automatically pulls in the time. So let me show you how to do that. So it's really easy. Once you've got a database that is existing, so for example, that previous one, with all of my workouts in it and sort of like a workout log, and you've got another database that, for example, this one brings together information, then you create a property of relationship type. So you click relation and you select the database you want. So in this case, it was, I believe it was workout log. And once you click the database, you can create a relation. Now, once you've created a relation, anytime that you go inside of this, you can basically look up any of the existing pieces you've already done. So for example, let's say I didn't do that one today. I did, for example, actually, no, I did workout A. It will bring in workout A to here. And if I want to, I can go and link out to that if I want to go back. And if I did 2 workouts, I can add them to here too. Now it automatically brings in using roll up, which is almost a lookup when you're using relationships, an automatic roll up for example, time. So I used the relation, which was this one here, the column next to me, the property type of time, and also it could also allow you to calculate everything as well. So for example, if I wanted to calculate the medium amount, I could easily do so. But in this case, I'm just going to go with, for example, 30. So this is almost an experimental function, but the actual relationship and lookup has been very useful. I'm going to change the way I use this, so this is almost like a peek into my experience with it. And as you can imagine, it's going to take me time to learn it a bit more. What I recommend is checking out Rebecca Ford's use of it, because it's so much more advanced than mine. This is more for looking up information of maybe, for example, workout A, what workout I did, and adding a bit more context around it. So hopefully it's more of a menu than it is manually adding it each time. So guys, hopefully this gave you an insight into how to use databases. Databases are so advanced, it's going to probably take a few videos to do, but hopefully it gave you a perfect introduction to it. Now, if you haven't checked out my Skillshare course yet, feel free to get that one below. You don't have to download it. You can download, though, the free PDF all about Notion, so you can go and enjoy that one. Anyway, guys, a big thank you for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you thought. A big thank you to Sanebox for sponsoring this week. You can get $25 credit below. But without further ado, guys, I will see you guys in the next video. So I will see you guys very, very soon, and have a fantastic weekend. Cheers, guys.